Now you see, it's no secret that these two teams just flat out don't like each other. And before today's game, the Cavaliers added fuel to that already burning fire. You see, it's common courtesy in the NBA to have the visiting team have access to the home team's weight room. But today, the Cavaliers sent 8 players to the Wizards' weight room, completely taking it over. And it obviously didn't sit well with Caron Butler and company, so you can expect the Wizards to come out with a little bit of added incentive this afternoon.
For more on that story, let's go down to the sideline to Brian Jackson.
Thanks, Bob. Penalties have been an issue for both teams all season long. And earlier this week, when I spoke with JMU coach Mickey Matthews, he had a very interesting take on the Duke's penalty issues, saying, quote, "The thing that amazes us is the lack of penalties on the other teams. To say he's hurting us is an understatement. It's like saying the Titanic ran into a small piece of ice." But the Dukes aren't alone in their penalty issues. UMass has been flagged a total of 51 times for a loss of 421 yards, good for 8th in the CAA. Meanwhile, JMU is currently 9th in the conference with 48 penalties for a loss of 475 yards. So it's safe to say that whoever ends up with a lot of these today will see the playoffs' hopes sink just like the Titanic did. Bob?
Brian Jackson's on the sideline with Minutemen coach Kevin Morris.
Thanks, Bob. Well, Coach, you all got a couple of opportunities deep there in JMU territory, but were only able to come away with 3 points. What do you all have to do to get back on track offensively?
Well, we've been up and down the field a little bit, but like you mentioned, we didn't score in the red zone. We need to do that in order to win a ball game, so we've got to get over that hump this half.
And I'm CSN Washington's Brian Jackson. I'm here taking your texts, tweets, and emails, so what I need you to do is this. Text in the letters TCD and your thoughts to 68683, and you could see them scrolling right there along the bottom of your screen. Or if you prefer to tweet us at CSN Washington, and we're always taking your questions at csnwashington.com. I'll be back a little later to share some of the best ones, but for now, back to Russ and Julie for today's headlines.
On that story, let's go down to the sideline to Brian Jackson.
Thanks, guys. Today's defensive spotlight will highlight 2 seniors that will be sure to be flying around the ball all game long, starting with Villanova linebacker Terrence Thomas, who today will be making his 40th career start. And he was also named the CAA's Defensive Preseason Player of the Year. And on the other side, we have William & Mary's Michael Stover, who began his career as a walk-on. 4 years later, he's the only returning starter on the Tribe's defensive line, and he's currently 3rd in the CAA in tackles for loss per game. Coach, you had Jonathan Grimes, who was beat up all week, had bruised ribs, among a lot of other injuries, and all he did was go out there and put 3 touchdowns on the board.
Well, I asked John. John wanted to play this game. I promise you, he'd have been really, really hurting to miss this ball game.
Up 14-7 at the half. What was your message to your guys there in the locker room?
I just told them this is where we expected to be. We come into every football game expecting to win the game. We're up right now, and now we got to finish the game. But I'm really excited with the way our kids are playing, and this atmosphere here tonight is outstanding.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome, Brian. Appreciate it.
Clothed in a custom-made Nationals jacket, President Barack Obama was here opening day to throw out the 2010 baseball season's first pitch. But on his way to the mound, the native Chicago Southsider pulled a fast one on the 41,000-plus in attendance, pulling out a White Sox hat to show allegiance to his hometown team. By outscoring the Bearcats by 24 points in the second half, the Hoyas cruised to the 74-47 victory, thus avoiding the dreaded Tuesday game in the Big East tournament that has now been expanded to 5 days. With the Hoyas, I'm Brian Jackson for CSNWashington.com. Before today's game, Ed Tapscott wrote the words redemption on the chalkboard. You see, back on Christmas night, the Wizards blew a late fourth-quarter lead against the Cavs, only to lose in the end. And the same thing almost happened this afternoon. Up 16 in the fourth quarter, the Cavs made a furious comeback and had the Wizards feeling a taste of deja vu.
Guys had a recent memory of Christmas Day when we were right there and didn't quite close the deal. I know they wanted to close the deal.
The game was tied when Antoine Jamison came up with a huge jump shot, but the Wizards still needed a stop against one of the best closers in basketball. With 2.3 seconds left, LeBron James gets called for a travel, what he calls a crab dribble, something he's done since high school.
I mean, it's a play that you don't see in this league much, but myself, it's one of those plays where you have your trademark play, and that's one of my plays. It kind of looks like a travel because it's slow, and it's kind of like high step, but it's a 1-2, just as fluent as any other 1-2 in this league.
Yeah, I definitely knew he traveled, but I didn't think they wasn't call it. Because 2 years ago, looking at hindsight, it was the same thing that happened in the playoffs, and we get that call. Who knows what would have happened with everybody healthy, but it was one of them situations in which a great player made a move, good officiation, and they called the call, and I was just like, oh man. There's a guy.
In talking with Antoine Jamison after the game, he said that this was easily the Wizards' biggest win of the season. We'll find out if they can build upon this win when Dwight Howard and the Magic come into town on Tuesday. With the Wizards, Brian Jackson, Comcast Sportsnet. Just 1 year after signing can't-miss prospect Steven Strasburg, the Nationals now have another phenom to build their future around. That being 17-year-old Bryce Harper, who today was formally introduced as the newest National. But before the press conference, he gave the Nats front office a preview of what's to come. Belty got a couple of upper deck shots during a short round of batting practice.
Felt like home. You know, it was a blast going out there and hitting with a couple of the guys and being able to hit on a pro field. You know, that's always fun. That's a kid's dream. You know, I'm like a little kid in a candy store right now. It's a lot of fun to go out there and show what I got and be able to hit it up the deck. That's a lot of fun. So.
You know, he was obviously drafted for the middle of the lineup corner bat, and that's what we think we got out of him. And you know, he's a very educated player. He's got high baseball IQ, knows the game very, very well. And you know, we think we have a really good player here. That's an impact player. You hear me talk about that all the time. We feel that we have an impact player. And being an everyday player is very, very important. And you know, we're going to develop him at a rate that maximizes his impact ability. And we feel that we have a good player for a long time.
Next up for Harper is a 2-week break, and after that he'll head to Florida for the Instructional League. Nationals general manager Mike Rizzo said that there's also a chance that Harper could see action during the Arizona Fall League. And to be only 17 years old, Harper has surprisingly handled the media very well, saying, quote, "All I have to do is do exactly what I'm doing now. Just continue to have fun and smile." With the Nationals, I'm Brian Jackson for CSNWashington.com.